Unit conversion, part one. Typically when you're given a unit conversion problem, you're given something like this. 1 inch equals 2.54 centimeters. We'll call this a conversion factor because it tells us how to convert inches to centimeters or centimeters to inches. But it doesn't tell us that very obviously, right? We have to know some things about this in order to actually use it to convert some number of inches to some number of centimeters. Right? And I bet if you looked at this and I asked you, how many centimeters are there in 1 inch, I bet you could convert pretty easily because it tells you in 1 inch there are 2.54 centimeters. But what if I said, how many centimeters are there in 15.7 inches? Well, then it's not quite so obvious anymore. So I'm going to give you a process that will always work that I want you to learn for this. And the reason that we're doing this by a process and not just by kind of logic and looking at this and trying to figure it out is that this process is linked to something that you'll learn in high school science called dimensional analysis. So the first step is to make 2 unit multipliers with each conversion factor. And a unit multiplier is a fraction that's equal to 1, which sounds kind of silly, right? Like we know the number 1 doesn't really do anything when we multiply it. But in converting units, this is actually the key step. So a fraction that's equal to 1 is 1 inch divided by 2.54 centimeters. Why is that equal to 1? Because the numerator is equal to the denominator. It's just like if I gave you this fraction, 8 over 8. Whenever I have a numerator that's equal to my denominator, the whole fraction is equal to 1. So this is our first unit multiplier. So you want to guess what our second unit multiplier is going to be. Yeah.
2 over 4.
We're just using these 2 numbers.
Oh.
Only these 2 numbers.
Yeah, but when you multiply the bottom times 2 as well?
Oh, we totally could do that. That would be one way of doing it.
2 inches. Or could you use that square?
All those ideas would work. That's not what I'm looking for in this case. Yeah? All I'm going to do, for this unit multiplier, I had inches up top and centimeters down bottom. For the second one, I just want centimeters up top and inches down bottom. Yeah. So when I say you can make 2 unit multipliers, this is what I mean. I can either have 1 inch over 2.54 centimeters or 2.54 centimeters over 1 inch. And depending which way we're converting, we'll use one or the other of those. Alright, so let's say they told us convert 5 inches to centimeters. Convert 5 inches to centimeters. So there's kind of a step 0 here. Step 0 was find the unit multipliers. I'm calling this step 0 because you really do this before even starting your problem. Right? There's only 2 unit multipliers for this. So if I'm converting between inches and centimeters, I'm only going to do this once. I'm not going to do it for every single problem. right? So that's why I'm calling it step 0. You don't repeat this step for every problem unless you have a new set of units, right? If the next problem said convert feet into yards, I would need a new set of unit multipliers because this is not going to help me convert feet into yards. So step 0, make sure I have these 2 unit multipliers. Step 1, and this step I'm going to do for every single one of these problems. I'm going to write the number that I'm converting as a fraction. Now, for today, including all your homework tonight, the fraction will always have a denominator of 1, and just 1. There's no unit there. Okay? So I write the number that I'm converting, 5 inches, as a fraction. In this case, 5 inches over 1. 5 inches over 1. Not 5 inches over 1 inch. 5 inches over 1. Okay? So you're writing it as a fraction. There will be cases when you have something different in the denominator, but not today. Step 2, multiply by the unit multiplier that has, and this part will work today, this part will not necessarily work tomorrow when I give you a little bit more difficult problems, and I'll show you why. Multiply by the unit multiplier that has your unit in its denominator. So if we look at this, what is our unit right now? What does it say? Yeah, inches is our unit. Which of these has inches in the denominator? The first one or the second one? You can just say it. The second one. This one. So I'm going to multiply times 2.54 centimeters over 1 inch. And this is why I tell you to write this as a fraction. A lot of you are more used to multiplying fractions times other fractions. And so just writing this 1 down here makes it really clear that that's what we're doing. It'll help you keep track of what to multiply by what and what you need to divide. If this doesn't help you, like if you're totally comfortable just saying 5 inches times a fraction, that's fine with me. But I think for most of you this will just, I mean it takes, 0.5 seconds to write over 1. And it will help you a lot.
So we solve it the same way?
Yeah, so now what do we do? Step 3, I'm just going to say deal with your units. And this is how I want you to deal with them. I have inches up here. I also have inches down here. Imagine a fraction where I had 2/5 times 3 over 2. Would you guys agree that I can cancel this 2 with this 2?
Yeah.
Okay, what if this were 7/8 times 5/7? Would you agree that I can cancel this 7 and this 7?
Yeah.
Okay, this is where algebra comes in. What if I had x over 5 times 3 over x?
Yeah, you can still get rid of it.
Can I cancel my x?
Yes.
Yeah. It's any number. X is basically any number. Okay? What if I had something like this? 5x over 1 times 2 over 1x. I can still cancel the x, right? I can't cancel the 5, but I can cancel the x. And so units behave like variables do in algebra. And you'll learn more and more about this year. But we're going to pretend that inches and inches are just like variables. They cancel out. Because one is in the top and one is in the bottom. That's what I mean by deal with your units. Okay? I like doing this first. Some teachers will teach you to deal with the numbers first and then think about the units. I like doing the units first. So what's left? Inches canceled out. There is no unit here. And all I have is centimeters left. So I know that my answer will be in centimeters. And it's important that centimeters is in the numerator, not in the denominator. If it were in the denominator, it would have to go in the denominator in my answer. That's step 3. Step 4, we're going to deal with numbers. You guys know that this is the symbol for numbers?
Yeah.
It's not that I don't know how to draw an H. And it's not that I'm trying to like post this up on Twitter or
Not a
anything.
hashtag.
Right?
Hashtag S.
This is the symbol for numbers. So I'm just using it to abbreviate. If you're not comfortable with that, just write the word numbers in your notes. Deal with the numbers. And so the way that I do that is starting with 5, I multiply by this. So multiply by 2.54, and then I divide by each of the numbers in the bottom. So here I have 5 times 2.54 divided by 1 divided by 1. Now, do I really need to divide by 1? No, I probably don't need to type that into my calculator. So in this problem, all I'm really doing is 5 times 2.54. 5 times 2.54 is
12.77 meters.
I just did 5
12.7.
times 2.54.
Nice. 12.7. So again, I just want to explain how we got that. 5 times 2.54 divided by 1 divided by 1. Okay. But I didn't type in the divided by 1 in my calculator because I know it's not going to change the result. So I just typed in 5 times 2.54, 12.7 centimeters. Now I'm going to check before I actually circle my answer. They asked me to convert to centimeters. Did I do that?
Yes.
Yeah, centimeters. And I'm also going to think about this. I have some picture of 5 inches, right, in my head. Probably from a ruler. And so I have a picture that 5 inches is about this long, right? Like this from my pinky to my thumb. I also have some picture of 12.7 centimeters. And, you know, my picture is that it is about this long. Do those seem about equal? 5 inches and 12.7 centimeters? Are they about the same? Yeah. They are. In fact, they're exactly the same. But if I had said 5 inches equals 127 centimeters, hopefully I would think about that in my head and go, okay, 5 inches, about this long, 127 centimeters, that's about, you know, like this long, from the one end of this meter stick to the end of this ruler. That seems a little longer than 5 inches. So take the time at the end to think about your problem and just ask yourself, does this make sense? Does this actually make sense? All right, we're ready for an example. Can I erase these steps?
Yeah. Yeah.
another conversion factor. 3 feet equals 1 what? Yard. Okay, now let's say someone says convert 3,500 22 feet to yard. All right, let's go through our steps. First, I want to make sure I know my unit multipliers. What are my unit multipliers here? Let's write them out. The first one would be?
It would be 3 over 1.
Okay, you're close. Good. 3 feet over 1 what?
Yard.
Yard. You have to write the number and the unit. Okay? It's going to be really important. You won't be able to do step 2 if you don't have both of those. Or, what's my other unit multiplier? Flip that upside down. Yeah.
1 yard.
1 yard over 3 feet. So I'm either putting this over this or the other way around. That's how I get my unit multipliers. Alright, I have those set up so I can start really working on this problem. I'm going to start out by writing the number that they gave me as a fraction. Step 2, I'm going to multiply times one of these unit multipliers. I need the one that's going to make feet cancel out. Right now, feet is up top. So is it the first one or the second one that I need? Yeah.
Second one.
The second one. I'm going to multiply times 1 yard over 3 feet. Here's why I like to deal with the units first. I'm going to check. Feet up top, feet down bottom. That cancels just the unit, right? Not the number. I'm not canceling out any numbers. Just dealing with my units, leaving me with yards. If I had chosen the other one, 3 feet over 1 yard, I would immediately realize, wait a second, feet up top doesn't cancel with yards down bottom. I did something wrong, so I'm going to erase that and go back. Okay. As it is, feet cancels with feet. My unit that's left is yards. Now I'm going to deal with the numbers. 3,522 times 1. Will that change the result? Times 1? No. So I can kind of ignore that. 3,522 divided by 1 and also divided by 3. So in my calculator, all I really have to type in is 3,522 divided by 3. So I'm dividing by any number that's in the bottom. I'm multiplying all the numbers in the top. Did you get the answer?
Yeah, 1,174.
Okay, let's think about it. Does this make sense? 3,000 something feet. Could that really be about 1,000 something yards? Yeah, makes sense. Makes sense roughly. And then we have yards. They asked me for yards. So I'm pretty confident that I could circle that answer. Yeah.
So I was just wondering, so instead of doing all the fractions, could you, in the beginning, could you just divide by 3? Or, yeah.
Well, effectively that's what we did, right?
I guess so.
This is the algebraic way of setting it up, and that's why I'm
Yeah.
asking you to set it up this way.
Okay, so you
The
want
reason that we do this is because when the numbers get more complicated, this process and understanding this process will help you deal with more complicated numbers. Because sometimes you'll have a conversion factor that says like, I can't really think of one off the top of my head, but if it said something like 5 grams equals 17 moles, right? Which is a scientific unit, it's not an animal. well, it is an animal, but
I was wondering.
in this case, it's not really clear, like I can't just divide by one number. I need both of these numbers
Yeah.
as part of my conversion. And so learning to set up the fractions, even though it's gonna seem silly, you're gonna have a lot of ones right now,
Yeah.
I still want you to practice setting them up this way. And it helps with other things too. It will help just in general as these get more complicated. I talked about, right now we're putting the unit in the bottom to cancel it out, but there are some times, like if I asked you to convert 315 miles per hour, this is actually how you would write that. And if I wanted to know how many miles we're going to go every minute, I would have to cancel out hours by saying 1 hour is 60 minutes. And then the hours that are down bottom here would cancel with the hours up top here. So learning how to set these up, right, will help you as the problems get more complicated. So even though you may look at this and go, oh, I know I have to divide that by 3 because I've done this before and I've learned, to trust my instincts and divide by 3, I will not give you full credit for that. On the homework it says, please show your work. This is what I mean. Right? I want you to show the fraction. I want you to show the unit multiplier. I want you to show crossing out one unit and then getting your answer. Yeah.
Check our work with the
Well, that's what all we did was divide by 3. So it wouldn't really be checking your work. You could do it again and see if you get the same answer. Yeah.
I know you could check.
So if we don't have like all of these conversion factors memorized, like 3 previously dollars and choose 2.54 feet or something like that, can we look that up?
It'll be on the homework sheet.
Oh.
Yeah. I'll give you all of the conversion factors you need. I'm not expecting you to memorize these. You may already know some of them, but I would still even just look at the top of the sheet and make sure that you're remembering it correctly. Yeah.
So you could check your answer by multiplying that number by 3, right? Or
Yeah.
number.
Yeah, essentially converting yards back into feet.
Yeah.
That's a great way to check. Okay, let's do another example. These won't always work out to be perfect whole numbers. Here's our conversion factor that we're going to have to use. Does anyone know what this symbol is?
Pounds.
Pounds. Yeah. If you speak Spanish, it's a lot easier to remember because pounds in Spanish is libras, which is, it just sounds a lot like LBS, right? And it's probably originally from Latin,
like everything else.
but I don't know the Latin word, unfortunately. If I find out, I'll tell you. Okay, 2.2 pounds equals 1 kilogram. And they say convert 95 pounds to kg. It's probably about what some of you weigh, right? 95 pounds. So convert 95 pounds to kilograms. We want to find out what you would weigh if you went to, like France or something. You wouldn't weigh 95 pounds. So, write my number as a fraction. 95 pounds over 1. Yeah.
Would this be important if you were like converting pounds? Because technically Earth adds 10 pounds. Like if you were in space, say you weigh 95 pounds, if you're in space you'd weigh 85.
I'm pretty sure
That has nothing to do with this.
Okay, I just
Yeah,
wanted to
don't worry about that.
weigh anything.
Okay, 95 pounds divided by 1 times, now I have to figure out which unit multiplier I need. I'm going to challenge you right now to try doing this in your head. If you can do it successfully, you might try that on the homework. Otherwise, I would encourage you on your homework to just write out the unit multipliers. So can anyone figure out in your head what the unit multiplier that we're going to need here is. So I want you to think about it for like 20 seconds. You can write it down on your paper if you come up with it. Otherwise, if you can't, this is what you should write down. I have two unit multipliers. One is 2.2 pounds over 1 kilogram. The other is 1 kilogram over 2.2 pounds. I have to choose the one of these that will cancel pounds. And so I'm going to choose this one. Now I'm going to write it here and make sure pounds over pounds. Okay. So some of you may be able to do this or do this in your head, which is totally fine, as long as you show your work here. Okay? A lot of you are going to want to just write out both options for each problem and then choose or circle or whatever the one that you need to use. Now we always are going to check this, and the way we're going to check it is we're going to say pounds up top cancels with pounds down bottom. And if it's not true that what I want is not over what I've got, we need to flip it. So what I want is kilograms, what I've got is pounds. And so this is another way of thinking about which unit multiplier to choose. What I want is up top. I want kilograms. What I've got is down bottom. I've got pounds. Okay? What I want over what I've got. 1 kilogram over 2.2 pounds. Now we take 95 times 1. Okay, that's still 95. Divided by 1. That's still 95. Divided by 2.2. So I have 95 divided by 2.2. And, yeah, 43.18. And the whole 1/8 repeats. Now it would be fine if you rounded this to 43.2. Either one of these answers would be fine for tonight's purposes. Okay? Make sure you're writing down every single example that we do as a class. All of these examples should go into your notes. Take good notes. Okay. Questions about this one? The last one. All right. Can I erase?
New.
New. So, we're going to just do some practice. Maybe we can just do it over here. Let me just check that that shows up. My thing got knocked. Some point. I think this will show up. Let's just do some practice making unit multipliers. Let's say someone says 1.6 kilometers equals 1 mile. What are my two unit multipliers that I can make from that? Yeah.
1 mile over 1.6 kilometers.
Or
1.6 kilometers over 1 mile.
everyone agree with that?
Yeah.
What about 1.6 miles over 1 kilometer?
No.
No, that's not one. That's not true, right? 1.6 miles does not equal 1 kilometer. So it wouldn't be a unit multiplier. Right? Remember, my unit multiplier has to have the top and the bottom be equal to each other. So 1.6 miles and 1 kilometer would just be a fraction. It's not going to help me convert. Yeah.
So on the homework, can you have to write both unit
Uh-huh.
multipliers, or should you only?
Oh, you can just write one. That's
Okay.
fine. Yeah.
You can try the one that you're gonna use.
Yeah.
Okay.
Let's try that. So, let's say someone said 100 centimeters equals 1 meter. And they asked us convert 57 centimeters to meters. We're not going to do this, but what would be the unit multiplier that I need to do this? Yeah?
1 mile over 100
1 meter.
1 meter over 100
Uh-huh. So if you just wrote that one, that's fine. What's the other one?
100 centimeters over 1 meter.
Yeah. That's the other one, but we don't really need it to do this problem.
For that problem, can you just do it, can you just do things in the calculator thinking? Now you'd have to do the whole.
Yeah, I want you to use this process for this one. Yeah, some of you know another way of doing these, which is great. It's great to know multiple approaches. For tonight, you're just practicing this way. We're not going to do King Henry
Monday.
died Monday drinking chocolate.
Yeah, this is mine. This is on.
Because that will only work if we're converting between the metric system, right? It won't work. It wouldn't work for this, right? There's no pounds in the metric system. So I'm trying to teach you another approach, and I want you to use that approach on your homework today. I'm not saying you always have to use it always into the future, just tonight. All right. You guys feel okay with, give me fist to 5. I'm going to turn this off.